Dylan Gemelli biohacked his way out of a heart attack. That's because his LP little a was 300 and he got it down to 127, which is unheard of. Doctors say it's impossible. And yet he found a biohacking routine that works for him that's reversing his arterial plaque buildup. And he had a pretty close call when he got a calcium score test, found it was high, and they did the CT scan, found there's a blockage, and now he's reversing it with biohacking. So let's go into your protocol, Dylan. What did you take? And what did you take and what are the dosages?
So, all right. So just from the top, I went in for the calcium score. And so what a calcium score is going to do is just tell you whether you have plaque or not. It's like it's basically a guesstimate, but it's gonna give you some sort of an idea of where it's located. And by the score, it's going to kind of give you the severity level of what it's seeing. So my score comes back at 124, which makes zero sense considering how perfectly I eat, how hard I train. I check all the boxes of doing everything right. Okay. So it doesn't make sense. My next step was to go get a CT angio scan. So the CT angio is going to tell you what percentage of blockage that you have. And it's going to tell you where, and it's going to measure soft and hard plaque. So what they found was I had a smaller amount of stenosis, like a 30% blockage, which obviously is not ideal, but it's not like, had I not found this when I did 5-6 years down the line, they said I could have just been toast, like literally, and never had a symptom, nothing. So what I did was took it upon myself to do countless hours of research and found that the markers that they test for, your HDL, your LDL, and your triglycerides, are not what's going to answer the questions here. That's not, when you have plaque, that is not what you want to be looking at. You want to be looking at your ApoB and your LP little a. Well, my ApoB was great. It's perfectly and fine. Well, my LP little a, which mind you is strictly genetic. It has nothing to do with anything that you're doing. My LP little a score was 300, like you said. There are 30% of people in the United States or in the world actually have high LP little a and have no clue. Well, basically in a nutshell, what LP little a is like these extra small particles that are able to sneak in your body. Your body's producing way too many of them, and those are able to sneak in and slap up against your arteries and cause plaque. And so there is no straight treatment for LP little a. Everything's in like phase trials. There's stuff right now that supposedly can do 100% eliminate it. But it is one of the major causes here. Anyway, long story short, a statin will actually increase your LP little a. Now it'll help you with plaque, but it has an adverse effect and it'll also increase your calcium score. So you're kind of like at an impasse here. What do you treat? What do you do? So I am on Vasipa, which is a PCSK9 inhibitor, and that has an abundance of LDL lowering effects, but also can lower LP little a. Now, doctors don't like to talk about niacin, and I have met with some extremely intelligent scientists and doctors that stand by niacin 1,000,000%. Now, niacin is not the easiest thing to take. You have to work your way up because anybody that knows that's taken certain pre-workouts, that's the stuff that makes you feel like pins and needles. And you have to take huge amounts of niacin to get the benefits. It's not like 250 milligrams of niacin. You need to be taking 2 grams. And it has to be with food or it's not going to work. Now, it took me 2 months to be able to tolerate that kind of amount, right? You got to work your way up. So I'm doing niacin with the Vasipa. I've got Repatha on the way. And so just for a rundown of what I do, I double dose ginger root. I double dose turmeric. I take a high amount of resveratrol, 500 milligrams per day. I take red yeast rice, which is a natural statin, so to speak. I take psyllium husk. I take daily pomegranate juice, which is shown through many people to actually help to reverse plaque in your arteries and get that out. I eat the strictest, cleanest freaking diet possible just for the plaque in general, not for the LP little a, because that's not good. working out and diet cannot fix LP little a. Okay. It's an anomaly, right? So that's why it's so deadly and so tricky, and most people don't know about it. So I throw the absolute kitchen sink at this. But what I was told by some of the most brilliant, intelligent people is what I have done with that number is impossible. Like nobody believes it. Nobody. See, I could show you my chart and it shows where it was in September, and it's like this in 6 months. I believe it's by the grace of God and the amount of diligence that I have and what I'm doing and the amount of research and time and effort I took into like looking into everything and actually doing what I'm told and, you know, following the rules of it. I did stop the rosuvastatin, which is also known as Crestor. I don't love statins so much. They do work on your cholesterol. Don't get me wrong. I'm not super fond of a lot of the side effects that come with it. You can get a lot of muscle pain, and there's other people struggle with them. And I think they're handed out too much like candy. I don't think it's the answer to everything, but it's very scary. And when something like that happens and you find it early, you better count your blessings and go do everything you possibly can throw at it to try to fix it. You know what I mean? Because we're young. I mean, you and I are the same age, and we shouldn't be having issues like that.
Right. Yes, I follow a similar protocol, but it just goes to show about the LP little a being so much more damaging for our arteries, because I have normal LP little a,
right,
and I have extremely high LDL.
Oh.
And for a long time, it's genetic. It's not just from taking, bodybuilding chemistry. So I don't have any arterial plaque, which is shocking despite all the experiments I've done, the diet I've eaten, being my age I am. Like, how is that even possible? But I also have normal LP little a. So maybe if my LP little a was elevated, then I would have cardiovascular problems. But because even despite my LDL being elevated, since my LP little a wasn't elevated, I don't have any arterial plaque. Amazing. But I also have been supplementing with the niacin, the fish oil instead of Vasipa, the pomegranate, also phosphatidylcholine and nattokinase.
Yeah.
So it's possible that because of all of this, I've prevented arterial plaque in the first place, or I've already reversed it. Maybe I started this a few years ago when I had my heart problem, and maybe at the time I had arterial plaque, and maybe now I've gotten rid of it. Right. I should have done a calcium score test before, but I know I have fixed my LDL. Let's say was at 160, and now it's like 80. So it's like half, and that's because a lot of things that I take. But I think probably the most powerful things I take is rosuvastatin, but I take a lower dosage. I take less than half of the doctor's prescription dosage because I experimented with the different dosages and found the minimum effective dosage to get my LDL down. Yeah. And then also bempedoic acid, BMPEDOIC, bempedoic acid is not as commonly used, but I heard about it from Peter Attia. And so I got it and tried it. And maybe that's also getting my LDL much lower despite taking a lower rosuvastatin dosage. So these have been my strategy. But the problem is, those, I don't know if bempedoic acid helps with LP little a. I have to check. And it like you said, rosuvastatin is not good for LP little a. It's good for LDL, which is not as big of a deal as the LP little a. So,
and you know what? I forgot, and you brought this up. So there's a couple other things that I'd forgotten there. The nattokinase is one. Now, the nattokinase, it is shown, and I've seen this in multiple areas, and I believe Peter Attia was one of the people that I also saw talking about this, but you have to dose it really high to get the benefits, to get that blood thinning and to help with the plaque. So I take between 12,000 and 16,000 FUs per day, because those are in FU units. I can't remember the actual translation on the numbers to milligram, but that's how much I take of that. But I also, I take trace minerals, which are very important. Like a lot of people don't get enough selenium and things like that. So I do take those. And I also, one thing I forgot to tell you, spirulina and chlorella are two of the things that I take as well. And those are highly beneficial algae that are supposed to have benefits. And then there's, I have to look this powder up I take because there's certain branch chain amino acids that are also very, very important for your heart. And this, it's like a Pauline therapy that I found, and I take that religiously every day, twice a day as well. So, I mean, I throw the kitchen sink at this. Like I said,
Yeah. What was the last one? What was the last one again?
Powder. I'm trying to look it up here because,
what is it though? Is it like antioxidants or?
Yes. And this
antioxidants.
He wrote, it's okay. Here it is. It's called Linus Pauling is the doctor's name. All right. And, let me get you what it is on here.
He's the vitamin C advocate, right?
Yes. Yes. And and so this, let me get you the exact name of this. The Pauling Therapy Essential Formulas is what it is. The proline, the L-proline is one of the biggest deals in this complex. Now, it's a combination of things. There's L-lysine, taurine. He's big on vitamin C, like you said. And so it's a combination of all of these, and you take it twice a day. And I just have it on reoccurring order. You know, I take it in the morning and at night.
Yeah, this is one of those things I think it's worth doing the shotgun approach, because it's not the type of thing you want to experiment for 6 years to identify which one worked, because you could be dead by then. So right. This is the kitchen sink type situation when we're targeting cardiovascular disease. That was my approach as well. When I had my heart problems, I was like, okay, I could experiment with one thing at a time. Maybe I'll fix it in a few years, but maybe I won't survive that long. Or I can blast it with everything. And unfortunately, I won't know what I took made the biggest effect. But if it works, then I know that this stack, something in it works, and I will just continue this stack because I don't want to risk doing it. Most of the time I'll actually risk, I'll do an experiment. I'll take something for muscle building and maybe it will work, maybe it won't, whatever. But with the heart disease thing, yeah, kitchen sink approach me as well.
Well, you got to think about it too. What's it costing me? Like an extra $100 a month for my life. And also there's other benefits to the things that we're taking there too. It's not just for the heart. I mean, there's a multitude of benefits for turmeric and garlic and those things. Yeah. So why not? I mean, it's not hurt. If it was hurting something and I saw it in blood work, I'd probably be able to identify, okay, maybe I just realized I was taking too much magnesium, right? So when I take too much magnesium, I start to get a little heart flutter, and I noticed a little heart flutter. And I realized, like, dude, you're taking like 800-900 milligrams of magnesium. Like, you're supposed to be taking 4, because I was getting it from so many different areas on things I was taking. So I cut that down. But you have to know your body, and you have to know when things are getting toxic or too much, and you have to keep track of it. So that one thing I will say when you do the kitchen sink method is a lot of those things, they do have other, like, I noticed I was getting too much zinc, for instance, because of some of the things I was taking. So I had to cut some things down, like my D3 K2. Oh, that was a big one we left out. K2. I am triple dosing vitamin K2 because we don't get any of that that we're supposed to in food. I take a D3 K2 vitamin, and then I'm taking extra K2 on top of it.
Okay. Yes, I do as well. Yeah, because the K2 helps keep the calcium out of the arteries and into where calcium needs to be used by the body. Yes. Good. Yes. And I'm curious the magnesium side effects. I'm going to check into that, like with the side effects of overdosing on magnesium. My body burns through so much magnesium. I don't think I've ever taken too much. I just always need more. But, everybody's genetics is differently. Like according to my genetic report, my body holds on to zinc more. I can take less zinc, but my body doesn't hold on to magnesium. I need to supplement with more magnesium. And then you said trace minerals, and you said selenium. And I think the most important trace mineral for cardiovascular health is manganese for preventing arterial plaque. It's probably in the trace mineral formula. But since you didn't say it specifically, I think that's important. Because if we were going to just take one trace mineral or just two, the manganese may be the first priority. And then selenium, I don't know, but you mentioned it, so it must have stood out in your mind as being one of the more important ones for cardiovascular as well.
Yes, and I think a lot of people don't get enough of it, and that's why I brought that up immediately. But this is a full trace mineral complex. It's loaded, and I know I was lacking. And I'll tell you how I know I was lacking. because in my blood work, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I had a spike in my TSH, like the thyroid, you know, and I'm like, what? What? Where did this come from? And as soon as I started taking this and getting it proper, it cut in half, and it's like
wow.
supposed to be. Yeah. So I mean, it was clearly what I was lacking in the trace minerals here, and so the one I'm taking, it has manganese in it. And it has chromium, selenium, copper, iodine. I mean, it's a boron. It's a full complex.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. Awesome protocol. Wow. I wrote a lot of stuff here.
It's
like that's one page of my notes there in Dr. Scribble writing.
It's a heavy protocol. It is a heavy. Yeah. Like you said, man, I'm not taking anything for chance. No way.
Yeah.
There's no.
Okay, cool. All right. That concludes our cardiovascular health biohacking protocol video.
Absolutely.